Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Foxeer Box Cam. Now, before I start, Foxeer have advised me that the internals are identical to the Foxeer Legend 3. So, there are plenty of reviews and video quality comparisons out there already. But there are some differences in the way that the camera operates, and of course there is the form factor as well. So you might be thinking, how have Foxeer managed to release a box type camera when Runcam was handed a lawsuit for doing the same? Well, the answer is simple, and it's not the same size as a GoPro Session, and it's also a slightly different shape as well. So I would say that it has had its form factor increased by about 10%, and if you look at them both together at the same time, you can see that. And I think this is a real shame, really. You see, the whole idea of us having a cheaper alternative to the Session is because, well, first of all, the Sessions are expensive, but because a lot of the Pros are sponsored by GoPro, then a lot of the frames that come out are designed around the GoPro, but we can't all afford to spend $400 or whatever for the latest flagship. And even me, having to have one because I've got an RC channel, I do have to close my eyes when I press the buy it now button. So the fact that GoPro have managed to somehow copyright a shape makes me lose a ton of respect for them. And I mean, what are they going to do next? Copyright the alphabet? I mean, it's just crazy. Anyway, despite the form factor, the Foxeer camera will still fit a lot of those frames. For example, it still fits the Shuriken X1, which I'm going to be using today to compare the video. It also fits the TS195 frame, but it will not fit into any of the 3D printed mounts, such as the one that comes with the Ishin Wizard, and it doesn't fit the mount that comes with the Fury Bee Futon either. In fact, I think it's pretty obvious that Foxeer has tried its best to make this camera as different as it can be to the Session. For example, if you are used to using a Session, then the Foxeer's power and shutter button is on the side rather than the top, and if you get that mixed around, then your footage is going to be the wrong way around. And I'm really sad to say that there is no display on the box camera, so if you want to change any of the important settings, you have to do it through the Foxeer Wi-Fi app. And out of the box, it comes with 4K 30 set as the video, so I'm going to have to change that a bit later. Then on the top there is this huge flap which keeps pulling out, and that is where you put the micro SD card, and it's also where the HDMI out is and the USB for charging as well. So while on the subject of the flap, the box cam is IP64 rated, if that sort of thing interests you, which I think basically means that it's dustproof and it can take a splash of water, for example, a drop of rain, but that's about it. Now, I could sit here all day and run through every setting in the app, but I'm not going to do that because all I want to know is, can it hold up to the quality of a GoPro on a mini quad while being under half the price of a Session 5. I will mention though that the camera does 4K 30 at 60 megabit just like the Session, but I don't think 4K is ready for mini quad yet, so I'm not going to cover it. I do think that as soon as 4K 60 is available on these cameras, then it will become a standard for mini quads, because I have 4K 60 on my Phantom 4 and it's amazing. I absolutely love it. But for this video I'm going to be just showcasing 1080-60 because, well, our mini quads are moving really fast, and in order for our cameras to record less blur in the image, we want a quicker shutter speed. And another reason I personally prefer 60 FPS is because we spend a huge amount of time getting our copters to fly as smooth as possible, and 60 FPS is going to show that better than 30 FPS in my opinion. But of course that is all subjective, and down to personal preference. But another reason for choosing 1080p as the resolution in this video is because it's actually the highest resolution on both cameras that supports Super View and 60 FPS at the same time. So if you are a GoPro user, you might know that Super View is a method of using the full sensor of the camera, which is actually a square, and then it takes the 4:3 image of that and stretches the outer edges to make it fit a rectangle. And I've actually seen some TVs do this as well, and it means that the scaling of the image is correct in the center of the picture, but towards the edges objects are stretched and distorted to fit 16:9, and it kind of then looks like an extreme wide-angle lens. Now, Foxeer have their own version of this, which they are calling Supervision, but again, to avoid any lawsuit, all they have done is taken the full square, or the 4:3 image, and then stretch the entire image to 16:9, which does mean that the entire image is distorted. So it's going to be a bit like when an old episode of Cheers comes on the TV or something, and you set the TV's aspect ratio to 16:9. And have you ever heard the phrase that the camera adds £10? I think that's where it comes from. Anyways, before I compare the footage, I just want to mention some of the other stuff that came with my package. I actually got a mount for fitting it to a quadcopter, and it looks about 25 degrees. You also get this GoPro style holder and a spare sticky back base to go with it. And there is also a video out cable, which I'm not going to be using in this video, and you are also given a USB 2 lead as well. It is the normal USB 2, it's not the micro, which is interesting. Now, this is funny, you are given a T4 torque wrench, and this is to replace the glass on the front, which has a built-in ND filter, by the way. Now, I managed to already break mine, so it's not the strongest of materials, and I think they know that. I don't see GoPro including one of these torque wrenches in their package, for example. Other than that, to turn the camera on, we have this button at the back which you have to long press for 3 seconds. The button next to that switches between the video and picture mode. Then this LED at the side of there, it shows blue in video mode and green in picture mode. And to turn Wi-Fi on, you have to long press the shutter button again. And then to start video recording, it's a short press. The red LED on the front also flashes when the video starts recording, and of course it stops flashing when you stop recording it by pressing the shutter button again. So you're going to need a fast micro SD card for 4K video, and also for the 1080p 60 FPS as well. It supports cards up to 128 gigabytes. Oh, I should mention that the camera has image stabilization, which I have turned off through the app, and annoyingly the Wi-Fi hotspot has a password, which is 12345678990. One thing I forgot to mention as well is that the battery is 1000 milliamps on the box camera against the GoPro's 1030 milliamp, and of course both batteries are non-removable. So I'm going to mount both the Session and the box cam on my X1 with some very long straps. Oh, by the way, the Session weighs 73 grams and the box weighs 72 grams, so they have just beat them on the weight there by a gram. I can't help but think that they have done that on purpose. Anyways, let's go for a fly. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually the audio. Now, I do think I prefer the audio of the box cam to the GoPro when it's in the air, but I noticed when the box cam is on the ground and there's no background noise, there is definitely a repetitive clicking noise, which is probably some kind of interference from the inside. Now this is fine when the motors are going, but I'm always looking for an upgrade to my hat cam because it's currently a GoPro Hero 4 and it eats SD cards quicker than I do Pizza Hut. But with this intermittent clicking, I'm going to have to rule the box cam out as a hat cam. That being said, once it's in the air, the audio is clearer and cleaner than the Session 5, and the audio is my biggest complaint with the Session 5 against the audio of my old Hero 4. Anyway, as for the video quality, I think the box cam is more superior. The image looks sharper despite it having a slightly lower bitrate than the GoPro, which is 28 megabit against the GoPro's 30 megabit. And yes, if you check the files, the Session 5 only produces 30 megabit against their quoted 45 megabit. Bit naughty there, GoPro. So I think the Session 5 has a more pinky hue to the image as well, which is usually described as warmth against the Box's more flat image, which is sometimes called cool. And I think that comes from the built-in ND filter that they have fitted. The Foxeer's entire image is a little darker overall than the GoPro, which again I think is caused by that ND filter. I can actually add a filter in Premiere though to pretty much match the hue and lightness of the GoPro though, if that's your sort of thing, but I'm happy with the stock image that it produces anyways. Other than that, I think the dynamic range of the Foxeer is very good. In fact, that is something that Foxeer has always been very good at, which is why I also own the Legend 1 and the Legend 2. I did skip the Legend 3 for this one though, because I knew the form factor would probably change to this box shape once GoPro had released theirs. So in all, I think the box camera is very good. My only complaints being the lack of a display on the model itself, and the supervision just being a stretched 4:3 image, and also that audio click as well. But in every other aspect, it beats the GoPro in image quality and sound, and therefore it beats the Session 5 hands down for the price. So there you go, that is my review and comparison of the Foxeer Box. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you decide which camera to go for. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.